to Other Realm Studio. I'm Paula, and right now I've got my screen up showing you Amazon and where you can find SoulBound issue number 1, Adrift, Kindle edition, on Amazon. I would love to be able to just cut and paste this into the chat, but for some reason, chat does not recognize the paste function. I'm gonna have to work that out. But, if you're in the chat, or if you're watching right now, I do have the chat board. There's my little Restream.io chat board up. I'm streaming on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook Live. So I should be able to see a message if you put it in any of those chat boxes. So it's really important to me that I do well on selling issue 1 because what? No, stop it, AVG. It's really important that I do well on selling issue 1 because that's a good place to get into the story that I'm writing. And I'm going to try and make it so that issue 2 is also going to be really easy to get into the story. But let's go ahead and set this up. But, issue 1 works as well. It gives you some backstory into the characters and what's going on and the setup for the world. So, last night I was on Sweetcast on YouTube, and that was a great experience. I had a lot of fun. I appreciate everybody who stopped in, either during the live stream or who stopped and watched and left a comment later. I really appreciate that. Guys, you don't even know. You just have no idea how much I needed that. I mean, I appreciate all your support so much. And I'm gonna do this. I've got issue 1 out, and I'm gonna do this 9 more times. My story is planned as a 10-issue arc. I have it outlined. I have issue 2 scripted. I just really want really want to be able to finish out this arc and to share with you the story that's been on my mind and on my heart for so long. So I don't really have a plan tonight. I had something kind of vague that I was thinking of to sketch earlier today, and I don't really know how it's gonna turn out. So I'm actually working out some scenery this time around. I'm doing some landscaping, and just sketching out an idea for how this ground is going to look. So one thing that I did for my comic SoulBound is I hired Mia Pierce to do the actual art for it. But I'm an artist as well. I just, my sequential art. Well, thank you, Ori Ori, for subscribing. I appreciate that. I just really wish that I didn't have notifications popping up on the corners. Because also my email pops up down there and I don't know how to turn it off. Thank you, Windows 10. My old Windows didn't do this. So let's see. I wanted like some broken up rock and mountains going on here. And I gotta work out what's a little bit further back here. So I know where to put the base of the other stuff. Okay, I think I got it. Alright, and I'll want to zoom in a little bit on this piece because I'm going to have a figure right here at the top of this bit of cliff, and I can't really do that from too far away. So yeah, I was really excited to be a guest on the live stream with Clint Stoker last night on Sweetcast. Hey, thanks. I appreciate it. I'm practicing. I am practicing talking. And yeah, this figure right here might be a little bit too close to how I feel about things right now. So, oh goodness. I had something I was gonna say, and I forgot it. Which it kind of happens a lot. So, oh yeah, I was mentioning, I think, that I hired Mia to do the art for SoulBound because my sequential art could really use some work. and I just need to practice. If I keep practicing, I'm gonna get better eventually. It's just finding time to practice, and not so much finding time, but straight up stealing time. So this is what I do. I'm trying to practice a few things at once. So my speaking isn't going to be great, and my art's not going to be great either, because it's all just practice. I'm kind of wondering. I'm kind of wondering about this pose. I'm not sure exactly where I should be putting the arms and legs so we get a good flail in there. Yep, that's right. Practice, practice, practice. Maybe if I go to a bigger brush and just concentrate on the silhouette, then I can just do the gesture. Sketch a whole bunch of different ones and then erase out the ones I don't want. So I'm supposed to be starting work on some commissions, but I haven't read everything that I need to read for them, so I don't know if anything about this one's going to end up in my commission work or not. I think I have this actually too upright. And I think I need to swap my angle of the shoulders and the hips. Do this a little different. Okay. Okay, I think I have it laid out in my mind. What exactly I need to be doing here. So yeah, starting from the beginning, it's always going to look really, really cruddy. But the layout's really important. So let me sketch that in. Still gotta make some decisions on these arms. Alright, I'll let that sit for a minute. So, yeah, I'm really glad that I got to go on the stream, even though I was really nervous about the whole thing. And I'm not used to talking about my work, so when I do talk about it, it's just difficult. I panic and I think I'm boring people. So that's why I started doing the stream. And you know, it was a nice kind of an in-between thing, because I hadn't done anything with my channel in several years, and I was pretty sure I'd be just talking to myself, but there was enough of a chance that there would be somebody else here listening in as well, that it still counted as talking to somebody, which is what I needed to practice. So it's a little harder to talk myself out of doing it, and because there's a possibility that somebody's waiting for me to come on. And it's also hard for me to talk myself out of it, because it's a rather low pressure situation. There might not be anybody at all. You know, it's like Schrodinger's live stream or something. Schrodinger. I don't know which way the G is supposed to go. But yeah, I was really surprised to um, to get such a great welcome from the guys on Sweetcast and everything. I mean, I know they're all nice people, but I mean, it's hardly my target audience. Yeah, it's kind of tricky, but you have to let go of outcomes. Whatever it is that you're nervous about, it's it's gonna be gone tomorrow. I mean, chances are. Okay, maybe what I really need on this arm is foreshortening. Although that kind of gets rid of our dramatic line here. Let me think about that. But yeah, I mean, I'd seen I'd seen a stream with Clint Stoker, and he was talking about how he would just really love to share his love of comics with somebody. And I'm like, yeah, I know that feeling. He's like, yeah, nobody in real life where he's at is really into comics. And I'm like, yeah, I know that feeling. And he's talking about trying to get his wife into what he loves so he can share that with her too. And um, I appreciate that. That's awesome. I mean, I think that's wonderful. This hand is gonna just give me fits the whole time. We're gonna leave that alone. Um, and he was talking about the kinds of stuff that she likes to read, and I thought, well, that's what I like to read. And for the longest time, I wanted to kind of get into comics, but I couldn't really actually get into any of the ones that existed. And then I started writing SoulBound because I could see the potential of the media or the medium. And um, I there were a few that I liked, but I started identifying the things that I thought were not being used well in comics. Stop that. Yeah, some things that weren't being used well in comics. And I just really wanted to um, write my own and come up with something that I would want to read to take advantage of, what's really an incredible creative media. See, somehow that's better, but I couldn't just draw that straight out. I had to draw it and then grab it and cut it and turn it like a paper doll. Ah, whatever. My brain's weird sometimes. I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of room for lots of different genres. Like there used to be all kinds of genres in comics. There used to be all sorts of different stuff going on, but all those genres died out. And I'm not quite sure why exactly. There's probably debate over it. Goodness knows there's debate over everything else. Um, but I mean, I've written this in comments elsewhere and posted it on Twitter, but since people evidently like the sound of my voice for some reason, I just sound normal to me. Um, so I'll just say it on the stream, and it's just comics can be for everyone, but we're never going to get there by tearing down what already exists. We can't get there by tearing apart other people's stories that they already love and by hiring people to write them in a way that maybe somebody else will like better, you know. And in the process alienating all the people who were fans of the original way. You can't get there. You can't get something for yourself by taking away from other people. So we can make new comics. We can make them in new genres. And if they're done well, they'll become just as beloved as the old ones. And they'll have earned that instead of stolen it. I mean, we need new stories, new genres, real variety instead of having or whatever this weird trend is where everybody sounds the same but it's called diversity. It's not very diverse when you're just picking on the people who used to love this genre or the superhero genre and um acting like they're jerks for just liking what they like. That's not diversity. That's just being mean. And I'm not behind that. I cannot get behind that. I want my own stories, my own way, and I don't have to steal it from anybody else. I don't need to take somebody else's IP in order to make my story succeed. I mean, even if that's what it takes for my story to succeed, even if that's what it takes for me to be a successful writer, and I'll just, die in obscurity someday if I don't use somebody else's IP and that's the only way anything can be done, well, so be it. I don't want to live like that. I don't want I don't want to, pretend that there's only one kind of pie and we've all got to like steal our slice from somebody else. Yeah. I believe in my story and it's just as good as anybody else's. And I don't have to take the attention from anyone else. Somebody's going to love my story and I don't have to like mutilate someone else's in order to make mine. I mean, yeah, I mean, go ahead and make your political story or whatever your personal culture, and it is a cultural thing. Do your ideology and everything. Yeah, people can do that. They can do that with their own stories. They can't just take somebody else's work and try and turn it into something else and demonize the people who liked it just fine the way it was. But it's like there's only one way, there's only one correct way to think, and everybody else is out. And that's why I think that comics these days is like a Mean Girls Club. It's they're not even chasing what's popular. They're chasing an image of themselves, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of freaky. So, yeah, I was really kind of surprised um, that I got invited to go uh, on the Sweetcast stream because, and he told me himself that it's like 98.7% male audience, and my book is it's, I mean, it's well written, and a well written story really is for everybody, but honestly, it's geared to women. It's my taste, and my tastes run towards, really feminine stories. I was trying to explain it on the stream, and I just couldn't really get my thoughts in gear about it. I might do the select thing on this arm too and see if I can turn it a different way. I guess sometimes you gotta do the paper doll thing. See, now that looks so much better. But I could swear that I did this pose to start with. Okay, I've gone and distracted myself from my own rant. Oh, there goes autosave. Okay. But yeah, my rather traditional things that I like to see in stories. I mean, I like the relationships. It's candy. Like I didn't start off going, yeah. Oh, where are you? When you say over here. Um but I mean, yeah, a story has to be written well, and then you know, once you have that, a lot of people can get into it. And what's really funny is that I actually have a couple fans, and mostly they are guys. I'm not sure why. It's not my face because that's not on here. Hmm. But the people who've really come out and given me a shot, that it's mostly been guys, and I appreciate that so much. Because if somebody says, "Well, oh nice," Australian in Japan. That's cool. And one of the pastors at my church is um, Chinese and Australian. I appreciate it. I really do. I feel like I'm doing some good in the world. Um, I mean, I can see where comics need to expand into more genres. I mean, it's kind of obvious. But at the same time, I can see where, because it's being done wrong by the mainstream companies, I can see where things have gotten kind of ugly about it. Um like I really appreciate it when say say Clint on Sweetcast says, I can already tell this is probably not going to be my thing that I want to read. When he says that about my work, I'm like, oh, I appreciate that he says this. I mean, I know he's not about to say anything insincere about it, for one. And for another, he can see the merits of it. He can see where it's standing on its own, and it's not just where I'm catering specifically to one person or another. I'm not I'm not having to do anything other than be myself and do a good job. There's nothing else to it. And if it's not somebody's story that they would be drawn to ordinarily, then and they can still, see the care that's been put into it. They can still appreciate um, the work I've put in, and they can tell that I've structured the story, or they can tell that I've, even if it's just something like, I have appealed to the people that they really wanted to find something good for. Um, that's that's just excellent news. But the trouble is that there's a phrase that could be used to describe this, but I'm not going to use it because it's turned into something so ugly now. And that's, it's not for everyone. I mean, true, nothing is really for everybody, but the phrase "it's not for you" has been used as this sort of justification for cruddy comics. Well, the truth is, cruddy comics are not for anybody but the egos of their creators. And every now and then I say stuff and it scares me. Um, I mean, yeah, well, you have to accept that there's such a thing as objective good and objectively bad art. And, all the art schools have been in serious denial over that particular truth bomb for decades now. Oh, it's art. It can't be bad or good. Yes, it can, actually. So you have all these artists thinking that they can uh, create something, and the only reason anybody would have anything bad to say over it is if that person or reviewer or critiquer or whoever is just a hateful, nasty slob or whatever. Some of my blocks right here are looking two-dimensional. I guess this is just the sketch phase. It doesn't really matter just yet. But the truth is, there are objective things that can be said about good art, and objective things that can be said about good stories. And if there's nothing objectively good that can be said about your story or your art or whatever it is, then there is a very good chance that what you have is something with not really any redeeming value to it. And you need to go back to the drawing board and really think about what you're doing this for. Or who. Um, yeah. Let me see if I've actually completed my thought on that. Sometimes I get a little squirrely, which is one reason why I need to practice talking, so I don't manage to distract myself and go off on only half a rant and then come off sounding really disjointed and rather insane. Hmm. I feel like this is blank right in here. There's probably like some extra ridges and some trees and stuff in here. Let's not worry about that too much. So, I mean, I know that my comic is not geared towards, this huge, like, huge percentage of male audience. And I know that most comics are geared to the guys, or they're meant to, or at least there's a bigger audience of guys trying to find decent comics. So maybe they wouldn't think that um, that mine, as a fantasy comic, very relationship heavy, um, not even entirely romantic relationship heavy. I don't have any romance in issue 1 exactly. But I do have important stuff going on between the main characters, and none of it's filler. It's all important to the plot. It actually has a function. And I know that's not what most guys really want in their comics, or at least most of them who are, you know, looking to indie comics to find better stuff, to read and everything. But I'm still I'm still a part of making comics for everyone. My comic might not be for my particular comic might not be for a given person, but it's for somebody. We all need good comics in different genres. Let's see, I think maybe this doesn't need to have a corner up here. Okay. Um, so my comic's not for everybody, but it's still part of making comics for everybody. So, yeah, if somebody says, well, my comic's not, SoulBound isn't, what they consider to be uh, something that they would like to read, but if they know somebody who wants to read it, I would greatly appreciate the help in finding more readers. Because there should be more people reading comics. And there should be more genres. It's still a great media. Well, I guess speaking in the singular, it's still a great medium. I mean, it's more accessible than novels, especially if you're a little more visually inclined. And there's a lower barrier to entry than, if you're creating, than to something like animation, which I would also love to learn to animate. I would love to create SoulBound as an animated series. I don't want to release control of it to a producer because I've heard what producers are like. And they kind of send a bunch, you kind of have a bunch of people in there putting their mark on your work. So frequently what you end up with is, after you sell a script, if it ever actually gets developed, it's not going to look anything like the thing that you sold. So you wonder, why did they even pay money for this in the first place if they weren't going to use it the way it was meant to be used? So what I would have to do if I'm gonna animate Soulbound is I'd have to do it myself and uh, find some way somehow to release it. But I'm not gonna do this thing where you take it and turn it into an ongoing comic or an ongoing TV series or any sort of ongoing thing. I want, look, 10 issues is a lot. This is a really large story, and I don't think I'm going to be able to hit only 22 pages in any of the issues. The first one is 28 pages of comic, plus a couple pages of art, and an ad for my artist, and an ad for my letterer. Well, not even so much an ad, really, since they contributed to the book. It's a way to find out more about the awesome people who helped me out. Let me see. I think what I'm going to do here is put in another layer and block in some like really big dramatic shadows. Shadows and a color test, or just shadows? Let me scoot out of this and see what I'm looking at. Oh, there's a spot where I could probably use some more pieces of castle. Or, well, it's a fortress. It's not entirely a castle. So, yeah, I've completely lost my train of thought again. So, yeah, I don't think that, yeah, I do like superhero comics, but they really do have to be done well, and there's not a lot of being done well going on. And it all seems, a lot of the chatter and stuff just seems a little dysfunctional and forced. Or the situations are dysfunctional and then the chatter seems forced. And anyway, I would much rather be reading fantasy. You know, like the novels that. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate you stopping by. So, I have the Kindle version up on Amazon. Um, just SoulBound #1 Adrift. And you should be able to find it. I think it's up in Australia too. But thank you so much for stopping by. So, yeah, novels. So, I'm a big fan of Andre Norton, who wrote The Witch World Chronicles and The Crystal Griffin. That's one of my favorite of all time novels, and I I don't really care if nobody currently has heard of it, but her work is amazing, and she's one of the old classic writers of science fiction, and her work is good. It's solid. It stands the test of time. Some of her other novels or her other fantasy novels, she's got a little bit of a hiccup with the phrase "that witch." Not as in a witch, but that which is known from the dawn of time or whatever. Like, it's a little bit of a verbal hiccup. I don't think that an editor would let her get away with that these days. But her stories are really solid. I highly recommend some Andre Norton. She's she's my favorite, especially when you're coming to something like uh, a fantasy with somebody from the modern world or close to the modern world, uh, given the era she was writing in. I mean, the era in which she lived that she wrote. Um, so modern world, and then gets thrown into a fantasy uh, dimension, really. And she's got some cool mixes of science fiction and fantasy elements, and some neat cultures and ways in which magic and technology mix. And the more I think about it, the more I think that she was just such a huge influence on what I wanted to do. Ah, no, I wasn't going to use this layer for that. Alright, I'm going to merge these two layers since I didn't get around to doing what I wanted to do. Come on, where are we? Merge with layer below. Okay, let's try this again. Do a new layer. And I'll put my shadows in the indigo tinged gray zone. And then I'll have a nice, more or less monochrome piece happening. So I'm just going to block these in. See if I can get my darker colors to all, or my darker shadows to all aim towards this area right here where my figure is. And if that's what I want to do, then I need to have some shadow creeping up the mountain toward her. So, one of the things that I love about the novel The Crystal Griffin is the relationship between Joy-san and Joy-san, and Caravan. And he's somebody who's spent his whole life feeling like an outsider for very good reason. He was born misshapen, treated as an alien, kicked out from his own home, and sent off to be raised by, you know, a trusted warrior friend of his dad's. You know, still had a good father figure in his life, but just really not a great relationship with his peers, and no relationship at all with his mother. And you know, that was important when I read that. That was an important thing. You know, all these people who should have been there for this person who was born a prince, and for whatever reason, well, we start off with the reason. He was born with actually hooves. So his mother screamed when he was born and refused to look at him, and his father still was determined to raise him, or have him raised as befit his station in life. And so that's how you get into this character first. You see him through the eyes of the, well, not through the eyes of, but you see his relationship with these two men in his life, the man who raised him and the man who was more like an older brother to him, and taught him a lot of stuff, and passed on his love of, ancient artifacts from uh, this war that had gone on, uh, thousands of years before, or hundreds. So much of this story just sticks with me. I'm now wanting to reread it again. And so you see first how he relates to these two men and his lack of relationship with his dad, or father, really, and his lack of relationship, or his adversarial lack of relationship with his mother or any of his cousins or anything. And so you understand a lot about Caravan's relationships, and that's important to me, and that's something that I think a lot of women can get into as well. You have to know, before you're, like, before you date somebody, you have to know, well, how's he treat his family? Or before you get into reading a story, you're thinking, should I be rooting for this person? I mean, what kind of person are they? Where'd they come from? What did their family think of them? That's why I hate unreliable narrators. That's really annoying. I mean, I can see the purpose of having some unreliability, because everybody has their blind spots. But I would like for my characters, when they are narrating a story, to at least be making a good faith effort to not trick the reader. And so that's where we learn a little bit about Caravan and what kind of person he is, and it turns out to be central to the inner plot of the story. Things can only work like this because he is essentially this noble person, and it turns out that his mother is, like, literally a witch, and had intended to summon up something demonic and ended up summoning up a power that she couldn't control in her own infant son that she was experimenting on with magic. Which, there's elements of that in my story, because I found it all so compelling. There's a lot of homage to Andre Norton in SoulBound. So if you've ever read The Crystal Griffin and you need another story like that, then I really do think that you might want to read SoulBound. Because I'm a huge fan of that story, and I mean, so many of the elements, just had such an impact on me that I put my own spin on them, but I did adopt a lot of those elements. So and another interesting thing about the Crystal Griffin is that part of the story is told from Caravan's point of view, but it alternates with the girl's point of view. So, Joy San. Joy San? I don't know. It's a collection of letters in her name, and some of them have alternate ways to be pronounced. So, without knowing how Andre Norton herself would like to have the girl's name pronounced, I'm kind of tempted to just call her Joy San. And it's going to sound like Joyce Ann. It is what it is. If Andre Norton wanted it pronounced differently, she should have included a guide in the book. And nobody can ask her now. But yeah, you also get introduced to Joyce Ann through her relationships and also through her responsibilities. And you get to see what... I mean, I suppose technically she's sort of a princess, but she's got a lot of work overseeing and organizing and taking care of people. And she's really responsible. She's very brave. And yeah, she has to deal with a few things like unwanted attention from somebody that she likes as a person, but he wants to be more than that. And she's already engaged to Caravan, who she's never met, because that's how they do things in this culture. So, I mean, you get to know her through her relationships with people and the way she thinks of other people. And that's an important thing to me too. I want to see that. I find that sort of thing interesting. All right. Okay. That's a nope. I don't want the sky to be gray or that shade of a color. I'm going to have to go even lighter. Or even darker. So once I get these rocks filled in a little bit, I might go ahead and darken up the sky. Yeah, I can work with this. So that was one of my main, I guess that one's one of my main influences, because I always wanted more of Caravan and Joyce Ann's story. And, you know, at the same time, I knew that most of their story was pretty much told. It ended on a little bit of a cliffhanger, and it may well have been continued in another book that I wasn't able to find. But for the most part, their story was told. And hang on, there is a gnat like right in front of my face. He just keeps breezing on by like he belongs in here. Okay. Tangents. Either that or it's a mosquito. I'm not very happy about that. So, let's see. Yeah, I recognize that stories need a good solid ending. Yeah, I love beginnings. I mean, I really do. I mean, seeing the beginning of somebody's relationship, seeing how they first meet and get to know each other and stuff, that's really awesome. I just really love that. But also, it doesn't mean much if you have to keep on starting over at the beginning. You have to see how they change and grow and learn and, adapt. And see where they end up. You have to have an end as well. And of course, your middle. So I'm not a fan of ongoing stories. They've got to have a good solid beginning, a good origin story. I love origin stories too. And yeah, the middle can't sag. You've got to be aiming for the end, and you got to keep that tight. And make it all worth sticking with the story until you get through to the end of it. I'm wondering if I should make my figure entirely white. Since I have this dark sky. And I think that that's actually what's going on at this point in the story as well. I think that's what she's wearing. So hang on, that's going to have to be a new layer. Clothes are an entirely different sort of detail than rocks and cliffs and mountains. So these rocks right here might need to be darker. So let me see. Yeah, I like the composition. But it does need to be darker down here and emphasize this drop. I think I have it flattened out a little bit where too much of the the land is right here, so it doesn't look like it's necessarily a bigger drop than like twice her height or so. Alright, let's zoom in on this. Come on. Yeah, sometimes the zooming in does not necessarily work. Now, I know... I mean, it does seem to me that a lot of my influences and a lot of my references, really, for what's going on in comics, or, well, what comics used to be, what stories that I want to see more of. A lot of my references are a little bit dated. That could be because I have not had much of a budget for buying new stuff until, honestly, somewhat recently. And it could also be the fact that a lot of the new stuff is not that good. And I haven't really felt compelled to spend money on it. Could be both. But, I am trying. I'm trying to, get back up to speed and everything. And I'm really looking forward to some new books that have come out of the indie comics movement in general recently. I'm really excited to see things like Changeling and Urban Fairy Tale. That looks so much fun. And I backed that one. I want to see, I cannot wait for Monster MD. And I don't even like horror. But I think it's really well done. From what I've seen of it, it's done really well. And that's the kind of thing I can appreciate. I can get behind that. It looks like it's that gallows humor. It's that gallows black humor, and uh, just things going crazy as they're going bump in the middle of the night. It's really kind of irresistible. If somebody has a good sense of what's ridiculous, I like to see that. And even if it's kind of a morbid joke, if you can laugh at it, it's not that bad. Oh, didn't need to do that shadow on that layer. Put this down here where it belongs. Ack. Don't need to be erasing either. And what was the other one? I backed one more. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it, and I cannot think what was the other one. But yeah, usually I do try and stick to the YA and the all ages titles, with the exception of Monster MD. Oh, wait. It was Jeremy Lott's Movie Men. That, it looks like a trip. So yeah, that one looked like a lot of fun as well. But yeah, with the current indie comic scene, it just seemed like there was a lot of superheroes and a lot of horror, and not enough all ages or young adult. For my taste. I mean, I didn't really see myself represented. I mean, I know I'm not actually a young adult, but it's I like reading it because it's not too intense. It's generally young adult is a nice balance of adventure and romance, and not so much real world or really horrifying stuff going on. It's better escapism for my personal taste. So, in the spirit of indie comics, instead of trying to make somebody else's work more about what I wanted, I built my own. So it's like if comics is a clubhouse and the guys have theirs, and it's all decorated in superheroes, and they build fortresses and have battles where they with like Nerf guns and dirt clods and stuff. Then I'm not gonna demand to be let in their clubhouse and change everything and kick them out and be a jerk to them for liking what they like. Because, well, that's pointless. That's really pointless considering that I can build my own treehouse next door, and we can set up one of those tin can telephone things and chat to each other. See, life is so much friendlier when you don't try and take things from other people and mutate them into your own vision. You just let people like things. But yeah, I'm really happy that I was able to be on the stream and I was able to talk with people, and they're a really nice bunch and I appreciate it. I really do. I mean, even if they're not gonna actually buy my book because it's not really their thing, maybe they'll get it as a gift for somebody at some point. But you never know. If you burn those bridges, they're a little harder to build back up again. And everybody has their own reasons for doing what they do. And evil is hardly ever a reason for what normal people are doing. So there's no sense in this thing where you have to shout down people who like stuff different than you, which I've seen a lot of. I should probably get off Twitter because it gets depressing sometimes. And I'm also on several blockchains, which is weird and kind of funny. Kind of sad, but also kind of funny because I don't go around picking fights with people. So I can only imagine. I don't think that I have actually done anything to get myself blocked from anyone. I think I'm just friends with people that other people don't like. I'm like, well, I'm sorry that your social skills are evidently even worse than mine, that you can't be friends with these people and live and let live. I mean, I know that's got to be pretty rough, y'all, because I have difficulty even talking. Oh, gracious. It is getting closer to 11 o'clock at night than I'm really comfortable with. And usually I would not have such a long art stream going on, but I'm busy, doing this fascinating thing where I'm coloring the gaps in between rocks. And I may have actually rambled on a good long while and actually said some things, worked my way around to saying what I wanted to say. And I hope I haven't gone down too many, weird little rabbit trails. As I sit here and color. Yeah, I think I like that better with the lines. So I think it's about time for me to go. but I appreciate you coming by. Even if you're not in the chat like right now or watching live, I appreciate you coming by whenever it is that you've gotten around to seeing this. I mean, your time is valuable, and thank you for letting me have some of it. And I appreciate the chance to practice, talking about my work and what inspires me, and whatever we're going to call my oddball rants from time to time. Yeah, what fires me up, I guess. And yeah, I need to quit picking at this. And anyway, if you're around, yeah, leave me a comment. Help me out with some topics, maybe, and don't forget to check out my work. I have my comic SoulBound, which is it's available on Amazon. The Kindle version is. You can look it up, SoulBound 1 Adrift. And it's also under my author account on Amazon, just Paula Richey. My last name is spelled Richey. There, we're going to call that one Cliffhanger. I'm pretty excited about this. I've actually put background in one of my pictures. And I think I have the lights and shadows working out almost right. Almost. I need to do something about this corner. And I need to do more about my castle. And my pile of rocks. Oh, yeah. But if you don't mind, I would appreciate it if you would stop by, and if you're one of my Kickstarter backers, or if you've bought a copy from my site, or if you happen to be at Borderlands and bought a copy from me there, or if you're watching this sometime after Soda City Comic Con and you've bought a copy, I would appreciate a review. I mean, Jerry Lee down here has left me one review, and I'd like a few more. That would be awesome. I appreciate that. Let's see, there's me, Paula Richey. SoulBound issue 1, Adrift, Kindle edition. It's $2.99 on Kindle, at least in the U.S. Things may be a little bit differently priced in like Canada and Australia and everywhere. I did have one person who bought it who's in Canada, I noticed. But yeah, if you would check it out, yeah, I know you'll be able to get the digital edition. And I also, on my website, I have, right here, this is my Shop Comics and More page. It's www.otherrealmstudio.com. And also, I have the domain otherrealm.studio, which redirects to this one as well. So you could actually type that in. So this is how it's spelled. OTHERREALM Studio. So, I'll be able to send this to you. Um, I'll be able to send you an actual physical copy from this site. I have the PayPal shopping cart set up. And it's on newsprint, which I like to call retro practical because not only is newsprint a great cheap option that's very practical, and my colors look really good on it. I'm so pleased at how these came out. Um, and yeah, it's a little old fashioned, but sometimes you have to go back and do things the old fashioned way. I don't intend for these to be collector's edition comics. I will take a lot of care in shipping it to you, and I'm signing every single one just in case, it is valuable someday. I'm gonna do my best. It'll be interesting if I really do get my animated series. You gotta have a dream. And you gotta believe in what you do. And I believe in this story. It's a really good one. Oh, it's gonna be epic. I just gotta do this 9 more times. So the very first print run of my very first issue of my very first series, and I've had this in my mind and in my heart for so long. Uh-oh. My other screen has gone dark. I don't know if I'm going to be able to close out the stream. We're doomed. I might have to close it out from down here. Also, I have my chat up there on my upper screen, so if anyone's posted anything, I can't see it. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. I have connection issues. That's what I get for talking until 11 o'clock at night. Even my monitor's tired of me. But yeah, the better I do on issue 1, the sooner I can come out with issue 2. And the better I do on issue 2, the sooner I can come out with issue 3. And I would hope that I should be able to really get on a roll with these and come out with several issues next year. And finish out the arc as soon as possible. I mean, I'm holding up my end of it, but to be honest here, I do need more money to pay my artist, to pay my letterer after the art's all done. It's very important to me that I don't promise a cut of the profits on the back end, because there's no guarantee of that. And if anybody needs to be taking a risk on this story, it's gonna be me. It's nobody else's responsibility but mine. And everything's gonna be unproven until it really happens. And I mean, I'm well on my way, but I still don't want to be in debt. And it's kind of the hard way around to do things, but it's important, so that's how I'm doing them. So, thank you all for watching. I appreciate you so much. And stop by either my site or on Amazon and check it out if you're interested. And come back. I won't be streaming tomorrow night. I will be streaming Thursday and Friday, I think. I have I have a Comic-Con this weekend, so I might not be able to do Friday. I'll try, but who knows? I might need the sleep, or I might need uh, I might need to be spending half the night packing up my car. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the other realm. Good night. I'm doomed, y'all. There is nothing on the screen where I have OBS running. So, if you're still here, I'm sorry. I'm going to turn off the volume and troubleshoot my computer. Good night.